Back to the Sun Sports Show with Nick Clark, John Sherman, and Mike Shaughnessy. We're going to discuss the girls' hockey season is underway. Some teams have played 7-8 games. Any surprises from what you've seen thus far, Nick?
I guess it's early. You're always going to have a few surprises. I think up in my area, Champion Park's been a bit of a surprise. They didn't have that good of a year last year. They only had 8-16 somewhere in there they finished with, and they've had a couple big wins. I think personally the biggest head turner so far this year, and John and I were talking about it before we started the show, was what Blake was able to do to Edina. Edina was ranked number 1 in Class AA to start the year, and Blake went up in there and beat them 5-0. And from what I heard, from what John was saying, it wasn't close. Blake won the 1A championship 2 years ago with a really dynamic senior class, and apparently there hasn't been much of a drop off, John. I mean, you talk about an early statement. I mean, that might be, regardless of class, the most complete team in the state of Minnesota right now.
That's my favorite hockey tournament of the season, Nick, and I got to tell you why. It's the name, the Cake Eater Classic. Perfect.
Is that really what it's called?
It is. I swear, it's called the Cake Eater Classic. And this was Blake's year in the Cake Eater Classic to come out, frost the cake, eat the cake, and they had a big celebration afterwards with a cake. Edina came out a little bit slowly, had some bad breaks early, had some great opportunities with Sammy Reber shooting the puck, but Blake took over with Sally Kamarick, Margaret Chute, their great team. They just came out and played a whale of a game. And a rematch, I'm sure Edina would be much more ready, but for now, looks to me like Blake is as good as anybody in the state, and they're a Class A team, a small school, but they've got their own rink. They've got a great balance on their team between lines, good goaltending, and let's see what they do. Their big rival, obviously, is going to be the Breck Mustangs, and they're going to meet up a couple times this year, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably 3. They're in the same section, and Breck is the second best team in that section. Breck's not bad. We're going to find out, I guess, here in the next couple of weeks, where they're at in terms of Blake. And they beat Blake to win that section championship last year, and that was their first win over Blake, and maybe ever. If not ever, it had been a number of years. But I don't know. Blake to go in and beat Edina 5-0 like that, Breck wouldn't be able to do that. It'll be interesting to see. Breck can put together some sort of effort, to stay with him at least.
Greg, you've been clutching that trophy the last few years with those Eden Prairie girls. What's up with them this year?
Well, they had 3 girls, from Bloomington Kennedy, and they were very good players, all state. They're gone, but Tim Morris has done a tremendous job over the years complimenting who's ever been playing for him. I think they're taking their lumps early, but by playoff time, I think he will have them ready. They got a new roster. They graduated 12 seniors off last year's team. They really got crunched by Egan, wasn't it? In the 7-1. 7-1. That was a little surprising, but Morris does a tremendous job with that program, and they've got some good upcoming athletes. But I don't think we can look for Eden Prairie. They spoiled us over the last few years. They've been such a power, and I think, to face it, the Lake Conference has some.
Eden Prairie's come back to the pack in the Lake Conference a little bit. I mean, they've already lost 2 games in the conference, and I don't think they've lost any conference games the previous 2 seasons. Not saying that they won't win the conference again this year, but it's going to be a lot tougher for them.
Any other teams in the area to watch?
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Hopkins Royals. They're an excellent hockey team with Becky Cordham, the D1 signee at the University of Minnesota, and tremendous balance on that team as well. They're going to be good. Minnetonka is good. Rachel Ramsey, Emily Meese, some of those great players. Good goaltender and Julie Friend. They'll be right there.
Yeah, and I think Wayzata will be there in somewhere in the mix late too. They have some girls, Jenny Sachs and Mackenzie Shannon, that can put the puck away. Their big question was goaltending, and they seem to be getting it. They typed a note earlier this week, and we'll see. It's a long way to go between now and the end of February when anything's decided. But like
We-
most years, usual suspects. You know.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Holy Angels girls hockey program. Each year they seem to, they've been snake bit a little in the section playoffs, as have a lot of teams, but they've got, every year they seem like they have the firepower, you know, that it takes to be not only Minnesota Conference champion, but one of the perennial powers in their section. But so I look for them to do something too.